Howdy, all of you delicious people. I'm here today to review Last Man Down. So, I would say that this is a action-focused film that really gives some interesting visuals. I really love the fact that we have our character mostly in the wilderness, and he is to be relying on, common wilderness stuff like a bow and arrow or an axe or some other kind of weapons besides him always being guns blazing. In all honesty, I could say that with this being a really good action film, like it kind of reminds me of those like 80s action films, those like Arnold Schwarzenegger Commando, where he's kind of walking along with the tree trunk on his arm. Kind of reminds me a lot of that. Kind of like back into the wave which of old 80s films that everyone can enjoy. I would just say that this movie, the only weak thing about it is it really, for me, doesn't have enough story. Like, doesn't have a good enough story, or is to also just turn around and not have a good ending either. Like, man, like we have a decent like film up until the very end, and then it just falls apart. Uh, Really, for this movie, I would say another problem that I have, and no offense to the actor who is to be John Wood in this film, no offense to Daniel, but I want to say here that you have a main character that is to have lines that you can't really hear him all that well. They should have figured out how to mic this guy better, or they should have figured out how to be able to have him like talk in this movie, because there's certain times where I want to go back and watch this whole entire movie in subtitles, which I couldn't where I went and saw this at. Um, or it just felt like I had to do like double takes to just kind of listen again, kind of ear to the grindstone to just kind of hear what John Wood was actually saying in this film at some points. So like that was another kind of weak part for me. But a lot of people may have really great headphones, or people might have better hearing at some point than I do, because I thought I would have really good hearing for this film. So, but yeah, very impressive visuals. Pretty decent combat stuff going on too. Like, this film doesn't feel like a generic action movie. It feels honestly pretty unique. Um, with the exclusion of it feels like there's some parts of this movie where it doesn't feel like they know where exactly to go, or there are certain times where there's some goofy moments once we get into like the later part of this film, like right around uh, when our main character is to get like hit with this gun. Like right around there we have some like very goofy spots that I was just like, okay, why did they have that there? Why did they choose this piece? But I'll get into that more in spoilers. Uh, some parts of me, like some little bits of this, kind of does feel a little bit like the Vin Diesel movie Bloodsport. Not that this guy becomes a super powered healing machine of sorts. No, it just feels like the beginning of Bloodsport is kind of the beginning of this film, where it feels like, okay, I've kind of seen this kind of approach before. We, of course, have this movie be about viruses, and we have a lot of people who are actually wearing a bunch of medical masks and stuff through this film, and I'm sure these people are still kind of somewhat practicing social distance while doing this movie, probably. So, so if anything, yeah, we have this like military slash mercenary people that at one point John Wood was to be involved in. John Wood, our main character. All of a sudden, he is to go on and decide that uh, it seems that Commander Stone, who is to, of course, be John Wood's superior, is just killing people off. Whether they're infected or not, he's just wanting them dead. And really, if there's anybody who is to possibly have some kind of cure or some kind of immunity or some kind of something, it seems that these people need to be taken and dissected and to figure out how can they cure people for the greater good, and it doesn't matter what they have to do to go and get that. So we turn around and we have John here that goes on into his conclusion and decides to make his own cabin all by himself to get away from it all, to just go on and just take himself out of the fight, so to speak. But then all of a sudden the fight comes to him. And so we end up kind of playing that out in his story, and a lot of people could probably say that this is like a very cliche action movie and whatever. Some people may have a variety of different feelings about this film, some in the positive, some in the negative. But I don't know, I was just won over by the visuals. Like I liked quite a bit of this movie. The only thing that I didn't like about it was probably the ending. So with that said, where can you conveniently go out of your way to watch this film? I know right now there's a cluster of apps where you can go and rent this if you want to. If you have money that you are willing to rent a film, go ahead and do so. Maybe you already have. I would recommend going on and Google searching two different apps. You can Google search an app called Letter C Movies, that is to conveniently have a number of movies and shows and stuff like that. You can Google search that and be able to really, if anything, be able to see a number of new releases or a number of old movies or shows that you can go out of your way to say that you've finally seen, because you have an app that can conveniently have you be able to really just see anything. Uh, you could also go and Google search an app called Fox HD Movies. The logo will say so, but the title will say something different. It'll say like play 1080p HD movies, something along those lines. You can download both of those apps, and together you'll be able to see a number of movies and a number of shows. You basically won't even have to go and to have any of much of subscriptions at that point, especially if you are to go on and powers combined be able to download these apps anyways, because you won't need an HBO Max, you won't need a Netflix, you won't need a Hulu if that's what you don't want to do, because you can conveniently have these two apps where you can see anything. You can sandwich those apps together with a Google Play Store app that I use called TV Crush. Every once in a while, there'll be some subtitled thing that you could quite possibly have on that app, or some other show that you know isn't on those other apps and conveniently is there, and you can dare say find that as well as any number of things. So, with that said, how would I grade this movie? Like, I don't want to say it's a bad film. I just don't. Like, I want to just say that it's a, like, I would have to just like kind of just say it's a positive approach of a film, but I just feel that this movie also doesn't have a story, or a story that is like, I feel like the story is way too simple. To where I'm just like, man, I'm waiting for a story to kick in, and it just never like really happens. Or when there is like a little bit of story, you're just like, oh, okay. But it feels like this movie is so action focused, and some people might just want a little bit of both. Um, but really, I was impressed with the skill of a lot of this film. I was impressed by its unique approach, and sometimes I could also just say like this movie at some points did feel a little bit on the cheap end, but uh, take with it what you will. So with that said, let's go into the double five time territory because it's about spoilers about this movie. Let's go into spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about that time I'm gonna do spoil this movie. So it seems that John is to have a wife named Amelia. Uh, in the very beginning of this film, at one point we have John Woods and Amelia in some flashback part of this film. I don't know why it's there, but it is. I guess having John kind of reflect on his old flame, and I guess they're sharing a cake together, and I'm just like, man, so we have John who's who's having to be like ripped, and he has this big massive cake, and we have it to where John is saying that it's all just sugar, and she's like, well, yeah, but it's like it's your birthday. So we have that one flashback in the movie because I just feel it's a random flashback, just kind of reminding John about his old flame. But let's go into the real beginning of this film. So we find John and Amelia at the end of a gun. Of course, we have both these characters who are tied up into a chair, and we, of course, have Commander Stone, who is telling John Woods that his wife Amelia is infected, but John is to say otherwise, that she's not infected. That technically there has been tests done, and we have Commander Stone who's saying that's like, well, I don't trust the accuracy of those tests. Like, I think she is affected, so I'm gonna go and just shoot her. So we go on and we just have Amelia at the count of 10 just get shot here because John Wood is to also be concealing certain information about a number of people that had all escaped, and there's a possibility that any number of those people could have had an immunity or could have been able to be vaccines for this new virus. And so hence why I guess you can't let anybody just kind of just get away from these guys, or maybe all of them are sick and so you might as well just kill them all off. So John supposedly has information of where these people are, which is to lead Stone to now do this countdown and is to shoot Amelia because John won't give up these people. And so Commander Stone is like, oh my god, like you're seriously letting your wife die for random strangers. And so Commander Stone shoots Amelia and then goes on and is forcing now John Wood to go to this I believe this carrier to go on and have him being experimented on for them to go and figure out how exactly that John Wood is immune to this new virus. So we of course have John go on to this doctor that is like hazmated up. He's in this full-on hazmat suit, and so this hazmated doctor is starting to poke and prod on John. And John goes on and is to grab this hazmated doctor and go and snap his neck. And he decides to go on and escape from this carrier, finding his way fisticuff style through all of these men, and then goes on and eventually figures out a way to escape. Going on into the wilderness, hiding away for a number of years, and so on and so forth. So we go on and, of course, have John, who's living the high life in this cabin, and so all of a sudden, one day, a woman is to don his doorstep, so to speak, and it is to be a girl who, of course, is to be called Maria. Maria is. I just met a girl named Maria. Maria! I don't know. Anyways, so Maria is going on and is to have been shot, and Maria falls over. John, I guess, because he's a good guy, is to go and take care of this girl and let her rest, and is to realize that he needs to go and take out the bullet that this girl was shot from, because it's obvious that he's going to need to do that, so that way it can heal her wounds, or he can heal her wounds. So we go on and we don't exactly know like where this like shot has been taken from, but I guess it's taken. I guess she was shot in the back. I guess so. John goes on and is to and to give Maria alcohol, and then is to pull this bullet from out of her back, and is to realize that it's a military bullet that they can, I guess, track her, a mercenary bullet, but they say military. So now John is naturally assuming that people are going to, some mercenaries are going to come for Maria, and it's only a matter of time. So Maria gets, of course, gets bandaged up and everything like that, going and getting a number of clothes that John is to lend her. So John is going on and telling Maria that he only wants her for a number of days because, and then she should leave, so that way he doesn't have to worry about people coming for her and whatever. Because some people probably won't recognize him from this mercenary team. So we have eventually that John is to finally, after spending more and more time with Maria, he's finally going on and realizing, you know what? Like, I can't just have you leave. Like, I think now is just finally the time where instead of uh, like instead of praying for peace, I'm going to prepare for war. So we go on and we have John, who is to go on and get all of his lumber stuff and all of his lumber pieces, his axe, and go ahead and chop some more wood as Maria is kind of inside. So all of a sudden we have these three mercenaries go and arrive upon John's place, and they call him like Timber. They call him like I think they just call him the Timberer or something like that. So we go on here, and so we have it to where these guys are going on and looking at this, looking around at this guy's cabin shack thing. So we go on and we have John, who of course is to forcibly need to kill all these mercenaries, so he goes on and does so. He goes and takes this axe and is to sweep this guy's leg from behind him and is to stab into him. And so another mercenary comes, and we of course have John going and taking this like, I want to say it's this like log carrier where you like kind of stab into the log and you can kind of drag it. Like, we have him going and flinging this this kind of sharp weapon and fling it and hit this guy in the jugular. And so John goes on and finds the third mercenary, and Maria had gone on to gun him down with this shotgun that was luckily behind this mattress. And so yeah, so we find that John is a very prepared guy, knowing that one day that these mercenary people would be coming for him, because of course they would. So it's kind of like, I thought it would be kind of cool if we would have had it to where like these guys wouldn't recognize this guy at first, where maybe in like the parts in like the early stages he wouldn't have this like Grizzly Adams looking look. Like, maybe he was a lot more clean shaven, and then for like the most of the movie they would have him like grizzly looking. Like, I think that would be much more of a better of an idea. So like, they like nobody would really recognize him at first, and he'd be like this Grizzly Adams guy who's just kind of still uh, mourning for his loss. But it is what it is. Like, I guess if you had the guy look the exact same throughout the entire film, I guess it doesn't really matter. But I guess that's just a cosmetic thing that I would just have a like. You want to make the guy look the same at all times, so that way you won't have to like go and adjust the film all that much. So we go on, and so we of course have John, who's telling Maria to clean up her mess and take this mop as he's going and dragging all these guys off into this shed somewhere. So we of course have John, who's taking all of their guns and taking all of their, I'm assuming their armor, and is kind of waiting for more bodies that he's going to have to stack up here, because we already have John telling Maria that more will come soon. We already have certain people. We have Granite, and we have Dr. Feldspat. Uh, what goofy names, but hey, it is what it is. These two characters are going on and realizing that a guy named Adam isn't training all the men all that well, and that these guys probably hadn't had a good enough education to garner them learning much from this guy who's going to train people. So we go on and have Granite, who goes on and is to just kill off every single one of these guys, realizing that they aren't going to be all that good in a fight anyways. And so Adam, now ticked off that all of his men that he was supposed to train are now killed, uh, Granite is now, I'm hoping I'm saying that right, could be Granite. It sounds weird. Uh, Granite is going and saying like, well, hey, like, you should have done a way better job at training these guys, and like we're kind of waiting for you actually to do your job. So sadly enough, I don't think we even see really Adam like for the rest of this film for whatever goofy reason. But we of course go on and have Dr. Feldspat. He goes on with a number of guys to go after John Wood and Maria, after those three guys aren't to come back. So we go on here, and we of course have the guys realize, the mercenaries realize that their men hasn't come back, so that means that they're dead. So because of course they have walkie talkies anyways. So you would have thought probably like John or Maria, considering these guys are coming anyways, you would have thought they would have taken one of these like walkies to kind of listen in, like just to like know when these people are coming probably. But I guess that's just me. Maybe they didn't have any walkie talkies. Maybe they just expected them to come back after a certain number of days. So we go on here, and it seems that both John and Maria are spending more time together. We, of course, have John, who's stacking kind of flood bags. Like, you know, when if you're seeing like a flood come into your house, you stack a bunch of these kind of like bags that have like sand or dirt in them, so you can kind of prevent any like flooding coming into your house. We have them kind of stacking, I guess, kind of putting a wall up, like expecting people to either walk that way, or expecting both John and Maria having to use that place to kind of dodge some bullets, I guess, at some point. So it seems that John and Maria are getting cozy with one another, even to the point of them both taking a shower one after the other, and kind of looking at one another without any kind of clothes on, and just like like taking a little double take and like like that looks pretty good. So as like we have John, who's handing off Maria this towel, I'm like, all right, that's going on in this movie. But we never have anything more than that in this film. So we go on, and we have Dr. Feldspat, who goes after both Maria and of course John here. And this time around, they're getting into their more kind of military armor. We have, of course, John, who's telling Maria to go and get some water because things are going to burn tonight, because he's thinking that the worst is going to happen here, because like after like the first kind of little scout, people have come back or come to them and dead, they're going to be sending somebody more substantial to come after these people. So we go on and we now have this big massive firefight going on, where of course Maria is to go and get water and is to be consistently kind of held hostage here and held at gunpoint for John to come in and to start uh, going on and murdering and killing a bunch of people. It's kind of interesting the one moment where John goes into the bathroom and is to murder a bunch of people, uh, because he's like, I will not take prisoners, and he's like, or I will not negotiate, or something like that. And so he goes on and kills people with a number of shotguns, shotgun blasts, and he goes on and kills one guy with an arrow, because he has like an arrow in his bathroom, a bow and arrow. I don't know why. But we have some really creative kills done by John here. So, but we go on and we have eventually where John does get his armor on and then is to go after Dr. Feldspat. And Dr. Feldspat is like, oh, hey, John, yeah. Like, we wondered where you went to. And so we kind of have Dr. Feldspat, who is going on and wanting to, like, uh, like, telling the guys, like, who the timberer guy was, who's the lumberjack. It's really just be John, but I guess his radio wasn't working at the time. So, because we go on and we have, at one point, we had Dr. Feldspat, who goes and takes a gun and smacks freaking John in the face with this thing, and all of a sudden he weirdly like wakes up. He's like, oh, and then he wakes up and he does this like punch in the ground kind of thing. I'm like, okay, that was a little weird. He was like Iron Manning it up. But there was also this one spot where Maria was going and taking this blade and was supposedly to hit this guy's head, but it kind of weirdly like sticks on this guy's like helmet and it's kind of dangling. It looks weird. But those are the only kind of weird spots that I saw in this film. So we just continue to push on in this film, and so we get it to where Dr. Feldspat is kind of in this underground tunnel and kind of dragging Maria along. And so we go on here and we have, of course, Feldspat and John kind of fighting it out here. And Feldspat is telling John, it's like, well, hey, you need to figure out how to die. And so John's retort is, of course, like, you need to figure out how to kill people. Because you're a doctor and you suck at it. So we also had him go and like grab needles from his vest for some odd reason. Like, it doesn't seem like he really used any of them, because of course he really couldn't. I would be worried that somebody would probably get injured by accident simply by punching this guy's chest, but they probably took a lot of those needle and whatever things off of the thing. Like, they probably had him use a number of vests for a number of parts of this movie. Kind of close-up shots, they probably had the needles and all that stuff, but probably after that, there's probably a number of different vests that he probably used. Or they just made everybody like go like, yeah, make sure you're punching this guy in this part of the vest and this guy in this part of the vest, or otherwise you're going to hurt your hand. So we go on and we, of course, have it where John Wood goes and takes out Feldspat. And so now we just go on and we have to send all of these mercenary people to go out and take out, of course, John Wood. So, because they go on and they realize that Maria, this girl who is to have this vaccine for this virus, is to be a very viable thing to where they don't want to shoot her, even though there's some shots and stuff like that that they go and blast into Maria at some points, but still, they don't want to kill this girl because her blood is to have the vaccine. We have Maria who's desperately wanting to tell John at some point when they're in the fire, when they're kind of having a bonfire, that she wants to go and give this vaccine to the people and not just the mercenaries of the military. So we go on and we have it to where all these mercenaries start to come and are fighting off to where there's this big massive firefight where we go on and we have eventually that these guys are starting to running out of bullets and so on and so forth. They have to be really inventive about what they're going to do through all these action sequences. At some points, getting kind of these riot shields and stuff like that to try to do something different within this action scene or these action movie, trying to go on and try to create something different so it's not just like a gunfight the whole entire film. So we go on and we have Commander Stone that is telling that their timber John, which they don't know it's John yet, like, hey, we're gonna go through and force him through this tunnel and then hopefully force him to go down the other side where Commander Stone is going to be waiting for him. So we go on and we have John and we have Maria who's just fighting all these guys so much so that they end up getting exhausted to where they go on and hide in this little room waiting for a bunch of these guys to pass. And Maria is going and talking, complaining that all these guys are to all be cockroaches, and hopefully at some point they're going to provide the bug spray. So we go on and we have both of these characters obviously exhausted. Because, yeah, like, it seems like they've been fighting for, like, a week now for this film, but I'm sure for, like, the filming of this, they've been fighting for, like, months on end, and it's like, good God, how many times can we punch somebody or get punched by someone? How, like, this is probably exhausting for them having to just continue to shoot an action film. So we push on and we go on and have these guys who are suckered in to the exact spot where they are supposed to get suckered into. And they, of course, are meeting up with Commander Stone. And here's towards the end of the film, because we're at the end of the film now, where we go on and we find out that Commander Stone is actually John Woods' brother. I was like, okay, that's interesting. That's kind of a nice progression of things, but like it would also like as soon as I heard that, I'm like, well, like I feel like I want to know a little bit more of a story, which I'm never gonna get. I would like a little bit more than that. Like it just like why is it that both of them are to just be so at odds with one another? Like I guess we just have it to where Commander Stone is to not take the Wood name because I guess the Wood name's too weak. So we go on and we just have it where supposedly Wood is to go off to fight these guys, and so Maria is just kind of hanging back. So we go on and we have Wood who eventually is to get outnumbered, and we start to have like bats and like crowbars coming in, and they're smacking and they're beating the crap out of John here. So after that, we just have a challenge being done by John Wood against Commander Stone, going on and saying like, hey man, last man down, like you versus me, and we're gonna fight it out here. And I'm like, what is this? Like, you keep what you kill, or like, what does last man down even mean? Like, that's the whole thing of like, they probably should have prepared us for what the heck Last Man Down even means, or what it is, or what was the point of that. Because it just kind of feels like weird, like what exactly that means. Because they just kind of throw it in here as like, hey, title of the movie, this is why it's called this. So we go on and we have the honor system where all of Commander Stone's men are just watching on as both of these guys go at it. And so it seems that at one point that Wood is losing, but then we turn around and have Wood who just taking down Commander Stone. I'm like, man, wait a minute. So this is like the traditional action movie where we of course have our main star who is to be heavily outnumbered, beaten the crap out of, and we of course have him go up against this fresh commander that obviously is to be like, why isn't he to just like easily take this guy down because he's fresh, like he has been the one clocking down Wood here, and Wood has gone through a number of men. Like, do we really just have it be that we're just having John, who's just motivated from the loss of his wife, to easily still take on Commander Stone here? So Commander Stone is to fall over to him turning to desperation to go and find some man who's going to give him some gun. And so he whips out this gun from one of his people and is to be holding this against John. We go on here and we have, of course, now John and Stone here rustling for the gun. We hear a shot go off, and we immediately are to assume that Stone is dead because John is the only one kind of tossing around here. So, or kind of walking, kind of hobbling around here, dragging himself around here. So we of course have Granite, who's going on and saying that like it's good that John was to go and take Stone out because she would have done it herself. And so all of a sudden we have Maria, who comes out with a bunch of grenades and is to tell everybody like, hey guys, I hope that you like my blood splattered all over your bodies because I'm willing to sacrifice myself here for John. So what we have here is that Maria is making a bargain for John to be saved here, and for Maria to go on with these people and like be their cure, so that way John can go off and just live his cabin in the woods life, and he'll be alive still. So these guys are to go on and take that agreement and have Maria go on with them, and so we just have John, who is to now just kind of relax as he is to realize that he is still going to stay alive here. So Maria and all these mercenaries are going onto this plane, and we all of a sudden have this one woman who I guess could possibly be this new commander, and so she's going on and talking about the new evolution of things, and going on and taking these grenades from Maria and have Maria realize that she is to have taken this bargain. So all of a sudden, John is to realize that Maria is to have left this note telling him that she was to leave a thing of blood for John, so that way she could go on and have him take this vaccine to the people and go on and figure out a way to mass produce this vaccine for the people. So with that said, that kind of ends this movie. I really couldn't have been bothered to get that last name out because I just flipped away IMDb. and I turned it off. So with that said, yeah, I think that's all I want to say about this movie. Let me know in the comments below if you just so happen to stumble upon this movie, if you saw it, if you didn't see it, maybe you rented it, maybe you went on and are using the apps that I've been letting you know in the comments or in the let you know. Excuse me. I've been letting you know where to go to watch things for free and whatever you could see this one or whatever, whichever. So with that said, I'm going to get out of here. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.